Hello, and welcome to another episode of Gatecrashers. Today we are looking at Gate 29. In human design, Gate 29 is the gate of saying yes. It's a gate of perseverance. In this episode, we explore the energy of Gate 29 through the character of Trevor. This series brings the human design gates to life through story, through pattern, and lived expression. Gate 29 explores the wholehearted yes and where it comes from. It explores why a true yes needs an honest no. And it explores the deep and succeeding where others fail. If you're studying human design or exploring your own chart, this gate may help you recognize the energy in real life. Trevor is a genie, and he has never in 11,000 years been permitted to say no. He came up in a trawl net off the Dogger Bank, a small green bottle furred with 11,000 years of the deep. There's something about recording Gatecrashers that makes me sneeze. One more. 11,000 years of the deep, the abysmal. And when the deckhand worked the stopper loose, Trevor unfolded into the wheelhouse and said the only word he's allowed to open with: granted. The deckhand hadn't wished for anything yet, but the word comes out of Trevor the way a sneeze comes out of me, ahead of thought, because he's a being of pure yes, bound by the first rule, which has slightly hollowed him out, like water working at a cliff. A genie says yes. A genie may not refuse. You would think this is a marvelous way to spend eternity, and Trevor thought so too once, before the wishing wore thin. Here is what people wish for, and Trevor has heard all of it at least twice. They wish to be taller. Then they wish for trousers that fit, and then they wish that their wife will still recognize them. They wish for £1,000,000, which Trevor delivers being bound to in coins through the ceiling and the floor, and occasionally through the wisher. They wish for true love, and they mean someone specific, and are furious when Trevor, who cannot manufacture a yes in someone else's heart, hands them the nearest substitute, a very affectionate spaniel. One man wished never to hear the word no again, and was last seen 3 marriages and a bankruptcy later, wondering what had gone wrong. Trevor could have told him, but nobody asked. Granted, granted, granted. The saddest word in any language, a yes with nothing behind it, because it was never his to withhold. Weather doesn't love you when it rains. Trevor doesn't bless you when he grants anything. He's just rain in a different form. And there's a rhythm to it. 3 wishes to a pair of hands, and then a glass draws him home and the bottle passes on. The deckhand has his 3, and at the third, mid-sentence, as ever, Trevor was pulled back into the cold dark, and the man dropped the empty bottle over the side of the boat. It drifted a season on the tides, and washed up one cold morning in front of Glenda's beach hut. Glenda is 61, recently and quietly widowed, and not by nature a wisher. She found the bottle at low tide, brought it in because it seemed wrong to leave it, gave it a wipe, and got rather more than she bargained for. She worked the stopper loose. A column of blue smoke filled her beach hut. Ancient runes glowed along the side. Thunder rolled, improbably, out of a completely clear evening sky, and a magnificent figure emerged, far too large for the hut built for one deck chair and a camping stove. The figure announced in a voice like a struck gong, "You have summoned me." I am Genius Maximus Ibn al-Khazad III. He paused, taking in the deck chair, the camping stove, and the small, unbothered woman still holding his stopper. But most people call me Trevor. Glenda put the kettle on. This was not what genies were used to. They were used to grasping hands and hard eyes, not kindness. Glenda made him a cup of tea he couldn't drink, set it in front of him out of good manners, and said, "Well, you'd better tell me about yourself then." Don't know why all my characters are from the West Country, but anyway, there we go. Nobody had ever asked Trevor about himself before. No, no one, not once. They asked four things. Glenda asked questions and she listened to the answers. And over the weeks, because, she was lonely and he was company, and neither of them really said so, but they fell into the easy rhythm of two people, each keeping each other from the quiet, from the deep. She made him laugh, which genies, as a rule, do not do. And Trevor, a fountain of yes since before the pyramids, felt something he had no word for, because the word is wanted, and nobody had ever wanted Trevor. Only Trevor's granted. She made two wishes in all those weeks. The first by accident. She grumbled one grey morning that she wished the rain would let up long enough for her washing to dry, and it did. And that was how she learned that Trevor was the real deal. The second wish was on purpose. Her late husband's rose to flower just one more June. Small, kind, easily granted. The first years in Trevor's whole long life that he had felt anything like it. What Glenda did not do was make a third wish. Glenda had worked out the thing that Trevor never told her, that 3 was the magic number, that the glass would take him back the instant it was granted, and that as long as she never asked for one more thing, he could stay. So she didn't. She kept a wish in her pocket, and the two of them lived inside that small, held breath all summer. Which is why what happened on the last evening of the summer nearly broke Trevor's heart. The season was ending. The beach huts were closing up. Glenda had been quiet all day, and at dusk, watching the tide come in, she said the thing that she'd been carrying since the beginning of August. "Trevor, I don't want you to go back in the bottle. I wish you'd stay. I wish you could never leave me." And she meant it. Every word. The way the lonely mean things at the end of a wonderful summer. It was her third wish, the one she'd sworn never to spend. And now, with the hut closing up and the bottle to be left behind, she'd spent it after all. And the word granted rose up in Trevor automatically, ancient and already on its way out of his mouth. And Trevor, for the first time in his entire long existence, closed his mouth on it. Because he saw in the half second before the reflex what granting it would mean. A friend you keep by magic was never your friend to begin with. She was your possession, and you cannot wish a person into wanting you. He, of all beings, knew that. He'd handed out the affectionate spaniels, after all. This wish would cost her the only real thing she had. So Trevor said the word he had never once been allowed to say. He said, "No." The beach hut went very still. The first rule, 11,000 years old, cracked straight down the middle like a stopper coming loose, because the rule was only say yes. That's all a genie got to say. It was also the whole binding. You say yes, you grant 3, you let the glass draw you home. Rinse, repeat. The moment Trevor refused, all of it just came apart in his hands, because it only ever held a genie who had never wanted to break it. And a genie who refuses for love is a genie that no bottle can ever hold again. No, Glenda, he said again, gentler, astonished at the size of the word in his mouth. I won't grant that one. And not because I don't want to stay, because I do. And if I stay only because you wished it, you'd never know that. So no. And then into the silence, the truest yes he had ever spoken. But I'll stay because I'd like to. If you'll have a genie who can say no to you. Glenda looked at him for a long moment, and then she laughed, a wet, surprised, enormous laugh, because of course that was what she'd wanted all along, and could never in 1,000 years have wished it into being. Not a yes that she compelled, but one she'd been freely given. No is good, she said, wiping her eyes. No, I'll have that. Yeah. And of course, in this duality that we live in, there is another kind of genie. And you'll not meet them because there's actually nothing left of them to meet, because they never found the no. They granted and granted and granted until there was nothing left but a warm willingness drifting in the deep. They didn't drown in one big wave. They drowned in a billion small agreements, none they ever felt able to refuse. Most of us know the beginning of that particular current, the meeting we say yes to, the favor, the third thing on a Sunday when we wanted the day off. Each thing too small to fuss about, all of them together, quietly taking us under. This is gate 29, the gate of saying yes. In the sacral, the gut that answers life with a sound long before the mind gets a vote. Its yes is not a decision, it's a response. The aha that means, yeah, go. With gate 46, it makes the channel of discovery a design of succeeding where others fail, or failing where others succeed. And here's the catch, the one that Trevor took an age and a good woman like Glenda to learn. A yes that cannot be refused isn't a yes at all. It's just whether. The sacral gives a true yes only if it's also allowed its no. No isn't the enemy of the yes, it's the ground the yes stands on. Without it, you don't commit. You just can't stop agreeing. And the deep water that you were built to cross becomes the deep water that you go under. Trevor never did go back in the bottle. It sits on Glenda's windowsill now with a sprig of dried sea lavender in it. And he is, these days, a genie of strict and joyful economy. He says no to a great deal, which means that when he says yes to the kettle, or to one more story about the Bronze Age, or to staying another winter, it lands with the whole weight of 11,000 years behind it. And Glenda knows every time that he means it. He simply keeps one woman company through the cold, freely, having learned the thing that no genie is ever told in the beginning, that the only yes worth giving is the one that you could have refused. Thank you for joining me today as we explore Gate 29 through Trevor the Genie, who's never before said no. And as always, I leave you with the hope that you are loving yourself wildly. Although I shouldn't hope it because that's my transference. So love yourself wildly. And as always, go gently.